Okay, the next part of our class is going to be about what's called experience design, and today's going to be a little bit of an introduction and then your first exercise using a website called Figma.com. That's Figma. I'll show it to you here in a minute. Right now, I'd like for you just kind of look at my phone screen that I have here, and when we talk about experience design, it's this kind of thing. If I were to tap the App Store app right now and it opens it up, let me turn off that notification there. Somebody somewhere had to decide, okay, how are we going to try to make this app an easy and pleasant thing for people to use? And so you can see, and you're familiar with this because you do it all the time, but the splash screen or the landing screen here has a scrollable menu that you can look at some things that they want you to see first. But if you'll look down at the bottom of the app, the way it's laid out, there's an icon down there. It looks like a little rocket for games, and there's a little rocket or a little icon for apps down at the bottom. You can find information about Apple Arcade down there, and of course there's also a little button you can tap, and it will take you to a search function, so you can look around and find an app that you're looking for. And it's all the things about, like, okay, somebody had to decide what colors are we going to use and what are we going to make this look like, and what's the behaviors that we want to put into this. Do we want it to be scrollable? Do we want people to like scroll up, scroll down, scroll sideways? Can we make it so it's intuitive and people can understand it just when they pick it up and get ready to go? Here's another quick example, the calendar app, right? And this is just the Apple Calendar app. So I have it so when I open it up right now, it's showing like the whole month. But if I tap on, I'm recording this on April 17th. If I tap on the 17th, here's the behavior for that. It gives me a view of that day, of any events that I have on my calendar for that day. If I tap back here on April, it goes there. If I tap on calendars, I can add different kinds of calendars to the two different kinds of events to the calendar. There's an inbox button down here at the bottom, and to where I can put invitations to events and things like that. And if I tap on done up in the corner, and you're familiar with this kind of thing because you do it all the time. You guys use apps, right? But who decided what the icons were going to look like, and what color they were going to be, and where they were going to put them, and how they were going to make this thing work? If I tap up here on 2022, it shows me the whole year. This is functionality that was built into the app by the people who laid it out and by the people who put it together. And if I want to see a certain month of the year, I could tap on that month. I'm looking at May right now. Let's see, I'll go down to November of 2022. It's just with a tap of the finger that it does that kind of thing. All right, so we're not really going to build like a whole big app that you put out there for sale, but we certainly are going to look into how do you design things like that. The tool that we're going to use to study this experience design section of the class is Figma.com. This is the landing page of Figma.com. The address is just Figma.com. I've got it up there in the address bar. You're going to probably have to sign up. I'm guessing that nobody in the class has a Figma account already. I suppose I could be wrong about that. Maybe you already have one. But what I would like for you to do here is today when you get started on your assignment, go to sign up right over here on the top left-hand side. And you're just going to continue with Google. That's all it's going to be. And I would like for you to get this signed up with your redpride.net account that you're signed into right now. It may make you agree to terms, which is a pretty typical thing for a website, and it might make you confirm who you are. Just go through the steps, right? I'm not going to do it in this movie because I've already done it. I don't really want to sign up because I'm already signed up. But you'll just do continue with Google and work through all the things that it tells you to do, agree to terms, and say, yes, that's me, and it should be good. I'm going to log in. And from in the other sessions that we have that come along after this, that's what you'll do too. You'll log in over here on the top right-hand side and then just continue with Google. And it will probably make you say, hey, is this really you? And you'll say, yep, it's really me. And we're in. Now you won't see all of these. I got lots and lots of like design things sitting here on my front page because I've done this lots of times before and you haven't. So you probably won't have a whole bunch of like recent design files or anything like that just laying around on the front screen. Now, before we get into the assignment for today, I'm going to hop back over to Google Classroom and show you that on the Tuesday assignment. If you happen to be watching this on some other semester when it's not Tuesday, don't worry about that. But anyway, Figma number 1, first assignment. If you click this, there is a help page here, and there are 3 pictures. And you're going to see as we go through this, part of the requirement for this assignment is that you insert some images onto these little screens that you're going to make. And I put 3 of them on here that you could use. In fact, here, I'm going to hop over here to the help page here. And so, account setup, I already kind of talked to you about that. I'm going to show you how to start and name a new project. We're going to lay out the screens. We'll do that here. I'll show you that in just a minute. But a part of what I want to show you right now is, if I can get this thing to respond to me, you'll have to add some text to screens. And then you see this one section that says add an image to each screen. Well, okay, so I've provided some images. You could use some different images if you want to. Anything you use has to be school appropriate. But if you would rather use different images than what I provided, that's okay. The reason I'm bringing this up now is because I'm going to switch back over here to Google Classroom. If you're going to use these, you'll want to download them, right? I can click on this. It just kind of looks like a home thing, and you could just right click and save image as, and I would just put in your downloads folder. I think that would work. And I'll go back, and I'll just do this real quick. I'll just get this next one. It's just like a forward arrow. Right click, save image as. I'm going to put it in my downloads folder. And here's the back arrow. Right click, save image as. And I'll put it in my downloads folder. And now they're there. They're ready for it. I'm going to need them later, so they are there and they're ready to go. So I just wanted to show you that. You're going to need some images. I provided some. If you want to use them, great. Okay. Let's get back over here to Figma. All right, now I'm going to take you kind of step through all of this, so here we go. What we're going to do here first is kind of on the top left-hand side, we're going to create what's called a new design file. It's right here. All right, so I'm going to click on new design file, and it's just going to go into the workspace for me right away. The next thing that I would do if I were you, right up here in the very middle of the screen at the top, it says drafts and it says untitled. I would click where it says untitled. I would give it a name. I'm just going to call this Figma 01, and I'm going to put demo on it because that's what I'm doing, right? But Figma 01 or something like that would be good. Let's get familiar with a couple of things. Up here in the top left-hand side, it's not a huge toolbar, but I'm going to use some of these tools up here on the top left-hand side, and I'll show you how those work. Over here on the right-hand side, you've got some properties that will show up more. There's not much showing there right now, but I'll show you what I mean. But over on the right-hand side, you're going to have things like fill colors and stroke colors and text fonts and sizes and some things that you can do with the objects that you build. And then you've got kind of an asset panel over here that's going to show some layers and things like that as we work our way through it. Okay, so here's your first step. This thing that looks like a hashtag, right? It's called the frame tool. Keyboard shortcut is F. I'm going to click it. And as soon as I did click it, over here on the right-hand side, there are different sections of these frames. These are presets. You can make a frame any size you want it to be, but there's phone sizes over here, like the iPhone. There's a bunch of iPhones, and there's some Androids, and used to have some Googles on there, but I don't see any right now. There's tablet sizes, desktop sizes, presentation, watch, paper. You see all these things that are listed down the side. For today, I'm going to ask you to pick something out of the phone category and make 3 frames of the size that you choose. I don't care if you do an iPhone 8 or a 13 mini or an Android large. It doesn't matter. You pick whatever you want in there. I'm just going to go with an iPhone 13 Pro Max. I'm going to go with the one at the top. I'm just going to click on that, and look, it made a frame. All right. Now, while I'm thinking of it, right up here at the very top of that frame, it says iPhone 13 Pro Max and it has the number 1. I'm going to click there, double click there, and I'm going to just say screen 1. I'm just going to call it screen 1. Right? We're going to make 3 of these. So I'm going to go back to the frame tool. I'll go iPhone 13 Pro Max and just click, and now I have another one. I'll double click there, and that's going to be screen 2. All right, one more time, right? Frame tool. Looks like a hashtag up there on the toolbar. And I'm going to go to iPhone 13 Pro Max over here on the right end. Just click one more time. And then right up here at the top left-hand corner of that frame, I'm going to click in there, double click actually, and I'm going to say screen 3. Now, if you would like to have these centered up on your screen, they're kind of pushed over to the right a little bit right now. So I'm just going to hold down the space bar, and I can scoot them around and put them wherever I feel like I want to put them. We're going to learn a lot about how to control this workspace and how to make it do the things you want it to do. If you'll look over here on the left-hand side of your layers panel, you can see that I have screen 1, screen 2, and screen 3, and those are the three the three screens that I just made. They're kind of like phone screens, right? All right, now let's do this next. Let's select screen 1. I'm just going to click on it. I'm just using the arrow tool right now that's on the top left-hand side. And by the way, the keyboard shortcut for that arrow is the letter V, if you like keyboard shortcuts. And I'm going to come over here to the right-hand side to the fill color. And this is where you start making choices. This is what experience design is all about. You start thinking about what looks good, what looks nice, what are people going to like. Well, I'm going to go with a blue color. I'm a real fan of shades of blue, so I'm going to go with a blue color. I kind of like the, I don't know what you would call it, the teals or the grayish blues or whatever. I don't know. All right, so I'm going to go with something like that. Looks good to me. So I've changed the color of screen 1. Now, if you wish, you can also add right over here on the left-hand side. You can also add a stroke. A stroke is an outline around the outside. So I'll hit the plus button here. It's going to be black. I like black in this case, so I'm going to keep black for the color. You wouldn't have to. This is for the stroke weight where it says 1 right here. I'm going to bump that up to 5 and press enter. And I'm pretty happy. I'm looking over here at my screen now and pretty happy with the way that looks. All right. Now, let's go ahead and take care. I'm going to do this really quick. I'll show you an option. Let's take care of filling up the other 2. So I'm going to click on screen 2. I'll go to the fill button. Now look at this feature. If you're thinking, well, but I want screen 2 to be the same color as screen 1. If I click on the fill button, down here at the bottom and where it says document colors, it's showing me that, okay, here are some colors that you have active in your document so far. And I could just use that same blue if I want to. Now, you don't have to on this assignment. You can make these be any color you want them to be. It's up to you. All right, but I am going to keep it the same blue. I'm going to add a stroke. So on the stroke panel, I'll click the plus button, and I'm just going to make that black stroke 5 pixels thick, and I'll press enter. And let's do screen 3. All right, so I'll click on screen 3. I'm going to go to the fill box right here. I want the blue color. I want all mine to be the same color, but that's your call on yours. I'm going to hit the plus button on the stroke. I'm going to go to that. I want a black stroke, but I want it to be 5 pixels thick, so I'll do that. All right, there we go. We've got them filled. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to label these with some text so it is very clear which screen is which. Up here on the toolbar on the top left-hand side, there's a type tool. All right, so I'm going to click once on the type tool to get it going. I'll just come out here and click one time. It's kind of small right now, but I'm just going to go ahead and type. It's pretty small. Might not be able to see it all that well, but I'm going to I like all caps for this. I'm just going to type screen 1, or you could say home screen or anything like that. Now, I'm going to switch back to the black arrow and just kind of make sure that's selected. You can tell something is selected, like when I use my black arrow and I select that little screen 1 thing, you can see those like handles around it. Now, over here on the right-hand side, when you're talking about text, if you'll look carefully, I see that I have fonts. Okay. Well, let's see. I think I'm just going to use this Irish Grover. It's kind of fun. I kind of like, but you can experiment with fonts. Go hunting for a font that you like. There's a ton. There's a lot of them on there. I'm just going to use this Irish Grover. And right now it's size 12. I want it to be bigger than that for sure. I'm going to try size 36. Nah, that's not big enough. I'm going to go 64. That might work pretty well. And now I can look at things like, okay, so it says screen 1. It's in white letters. I've got a font I like, but I might want to change the color. So I'm going to click on the fill part right here. And I'm going to go for like a goldish color. So I'm pulling this little slider over here to the, I got a little too yellow there. I'm going to back it up. Oh, it won't stay where I want it. Come on, cooperate with me. There we go. So I want kind of a goldish yellow. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. All right, cool. And you could add a stroke around your text if you want to. Do you want to do that? Do you want to add a little stroke around it? Maybe like I might put like a 2-point stroke around the text. Great, cool. All right. And you can use your arrow tool to move things around and make them, just push them around and put them wherever you want them. Okay, so I've got that first one. What I want to do is label a screen so you know what they are. All right, now I want to do the same thing on the others, but here's my plan. I think that I really want the text to look pretty similar on all 3 of the screens. So here's what I'm going to do. Rather than recreate it 3 different times, I'm going to use my arrow tool. I'm going to press down the Alt key. That's the Alt key. And I'm going to drag this, and I'll just pull it over this way. All right. So, and you can see those little like red lines are even helping me kind of line it up a little bit. All right. So now that says screen 1, and I don't want that to say screen 1. So I'm going to double click, and that'll get me into editing mode, and then I can just get in here and change that to say screen 2. Now in this case, with that font, I might have to stretch that box out just a little bit because the 2 didn't quite fit. So I just grabbed a handle on the box and made the box a little bit wider so that it would fit better. All right, now let's do the same thing here. I'm going to press the Alt key, and I'm going to pull this over and drop it on here, holding down the Alt key, drag it with the arrow, and then let go of the arrow, let go of the Alt key, and it made a duplicate is what it did. I'm going to double click, that gets me into editing mode, and now I can just kind of arrow around and I can backspace out something I want to change, and I've made this say screen 3. All right, so with me so far here, see what we're doing, right? I've got 3 like pages or screens that I've created. I've given them some color. I've labeled them so I know which one is which. Our next step is to put the pictures on them. Now this is where I'm going to use those pictures that I have on Google Classroom. You wouldn't have to use those if you don't want to. If you're going to use something that I did not provide, it has to be school appropriate. All right, and again, I should have been kind of saying this as we went along, but if you know, this would be a time where you think, well, okay, I'm going to pause the video and kind of get all caught up on all of this, and then I'll come back to the video and see how do you put the pictures on, right? That's what I'm about to do, is put the pictures on. You can pause the video anytime you want and do a little bit of work, and then come back to the video and see the next part of it and just kind of do it in chunks if you want to. All right, so here we go. If you're going to pause the video, pause it now. And if you're not, 3, 2, 1, let's roll. All right, so there's a rectangle tool up here, which we'll get into here in a minute, but there's other tools. If you hit that little down arrow next to the rectangle tool, there's some other things that are packaged along with that, and one of them is place image right here. All right, so I'm going to say place image. And now, you know, a box has popped up saying, well, okay, this is, I'm actually recording this on a Mac, but it'll work the same way at school on a Windows computer. So I'm going to go look at my downloads folder, and let me get date modified here. There we go. I had to sort them out a little bit differently, but here I found them. So on this first page, I'm going to put that home button. It kind of looks like a home button, right? So I'll just say the home button right here, and I'll open it. And then I just kind of drag it out. There we go. And you can always kind of size it and move it and, you know, do what you want to do with it. All right, cool. There we go. So I'm going to put the other buttons on the other pages. I've got a kind of a forward pointing arrow thing, so that's going to go on screen too. So let's go back to that rectangle tool, go to place image. Here's the forward arrow, and I'm going to drag that out, and then I can just kind of move it around. Use your arrow tool to move things around and get it sitting where you want it to sit, that kind of thing. On screen 3, I'm going to put that kind of back arrow. All right, so let's go back to the rectangle tool, drop that menu down, place image. Here's my back arrow. And I'll stretch that out. I want to get it all on there. Okay, great. Fabulous. All right, so my 3 pictures are on there. And that's how you do it. You drop this menu down, you say place image, and then you go get your picture and you put it on there. That's how it's not difficult. All right, now the last thing we're going to work on doing is creating, well, it's not the last thing, but I should say the next thing. So again, if somebody wants to pause the video and say, well, okay, I'm going to go do those pictures now and get caught up, and then I'll come back to the video. So it could be a good time to pause it now if you want to do that, or if you're ready to go on. 3, 2, 1, let's go on. We're going to create some buttons here. I'm going to put my buttons down at the bottom. And the buttons are going to be kind of made out of 2 things, a shape and some text. All right, well, let's just go get the rectangle tool in this case up here. Keyboard shortcut is R if you like keyboard shortcuts, but I'm just going to click the rectangle tool and just draw a rectangle, whatever size you want really, but about like that is good. Now, you notice when I drew that, you get these, when I first drew it, you get these little like donut things that popped up in the corner. All right, if you would like to round the corners of your rectangle, which, by the way, I kind of like. I don't know if you like that or not, but I do. If you want to round the corners of your rectangle, you can grab those and pull them in toward the middle, and it rounds the corners. I like that look. That's really kind of up to you, though. You can do whatever you want with that. Okay, now, so I've got this rectangle with rounded corners, and I'm going to get it sitting in there. I can come over here to the right-hand side to the Properties panel over here to my Design Properties, and I can think about, okay, it's gray right now. It doesn't look terrible being gray, I don't think. But you know what? I think I've decided, thinking about color schemes, I think I'm deciding I might make the text and the button color kind of match. So I'm looking at my fill and thinking I might just use that yellow like that. And I think I'm going to add a stroke to my button, and I think I might use that 5 pixel black stroke, right? It's 5, that's for the width of the stroke, and this is black, right? And I'll just press enter on that. And now I'm looking over here at my button and thinking that I like it. It looks good. Okay, happy with that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to use that same exact shape on the other. So how did we do that with the text? Do you remember that? Hold down the Alt key and use your arrow and drag it. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to hold the Alt key and just drag a copy of it. And then I'm going to do that one more time. I'll press down the Alt key, hold the Alt key down, use the arrow tool, drag a copy over here. Bingo. All right. Yay. Now, these buttons are I guess, I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but these buttons are naked buttons. They don't have a label on them. They say nothing, and that's bad. That's not good experience design. If you have a button, unless it's by its shape, like if you have a button that looks like a magnifying glass, what do you think that means? Search, right? So if its shape is a giveaway, then you're okay, but that's not the case here. These are rectangles. They're not giving anything away. All right, we're going to have to add a little text. All right, so let's go. I'm going to get the type tool. I'll just come over here and click on here. And I think what I'm going to just say is, well, here, I'm just going to make it say next. Because what we're going to do here in a second is make these buttons actually connect to the other screens. And I'm going to I just want to take that text and put it right on there, use my arrow tool and put it right on there. And I'm pretty happy with the font. If you look over here on the right hand side, I'm still using that Irish Grover font. I'm pretty happy with that. But I think I'm going to make the color of that black instead of white. Right? But do whatever you want to do with color. That is your call, your decision. All right. Now, again, I'm going to use the trick that we have used several times here. I'm going to hold down the Alt key, take that word next, click it, and pull it over here with the mouse. So I got to hold down the Alt key and drag it. I want to make a copy. Okay. And then I'm going to do it one more time. Hold down the Alt key and make a copy. But instead of on the last one here, I'm going to double click and I'm going to get in there and I'm going to make that say home instead of saying next. Now you could say that a lot of different ways. That's where designers have to make decisions, and you're going to have to make some decisions. All right. Now, so you're seeing what we got here, right? Okay. Now, before we get into the final part of this, which is adding a little bit of actual interaction between the three screens, I'm going to suggest you do one more thing. Okay. I'm going to suggest that you use your arrow tool, and like over here on the screen one, I'm going to drag, and so I'm going to kind of marquee my way around. I want both the rectangle and the text down there, right? This button thing here is actually kind of made of two things. There's a rectangle and there's some text. I want to group that together. All right, it's a really good idea to do that. I believe that if you right-click, let me make sure I'm right about this. Yes. If you select, a couple of things like I did there, I've got a rectangle and some text, and I got them both selected, and I did a right click, and so I can just do what you see right there, group selection. Now there's also a keyboard shortcut, Control G, and I think I mentioned earlier, I'm doing this on a Mac. So the little symbol on there, the keyboard symbol, doesn't look the same as Windows. On a Mac it's Command G, but on a Windows computer it's Control G. So you could do group selection, and it groups those together. I'm going to do that same thing on this button over here. I'll drag so it's selected, and I'm going to right click it and group the selection, and same thing on this one. I'm going to drag so that's selected, right click it, and group the selection. Got it. All right, well, now we're down to our final step here. Wow. All right, we have laid out kind of a little mock-up, right? It's a prototype. Yeah, go to the Idea Lab. It's a prototype. Screen 1, Screen 2, Screen 3. We have some pictures on there. We have some buttons down here. Made it look a little bit pretty with some color. Okay. Now, again, if at any point you have to pause the video and do part of it and then come back and run the video some more and do the next part, that's okay. But here's the next thing we're going to do. Up here on the top right-hand side, we've been working the whole time in what's called the design view right here. And that's for building, right? That's for putting on objects and text and pictures and frames and all the stuff that we've been doing. That's all design work. We've been designing it. Now we're going to go over here to this button right here that says it prototype. All right, so I'm going to click that. Okay, now there's not a ton of work that we're going to do here, but here's what I'm going to do. I've switched over to prototype. I'm going to come down here on screen 1, and I'm going to click on I remember I created a button down here. I created a next button. So I'm just going to select it. And when I do, I see this little donut looking thing that appears on the right hand side of it. It's called a pick whip. And I'm going to click on that pick whip and drag it over and attach it to screen 2. It'll kind of automatically snap on and attach. See how that's doing that? Perfect. Okay. So you see this arrow that's coming over. This button what that means is its function, its job, if somebody clicks it or taps it, is it goes to screen 2. It navigates its way to screen 2. Now I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'll click on this next button that's on screen 2, and we want this little pick whip thing, this little bubble, to go to screen 3. Got it. Right? So that little arrow there, that little curvy arrow means, okay, we're connected. If you tap that or click it, it is going to navigate its way to screen 3. And on the home button here, we're going to have to take that pick whip, and we want to go all the way back to screen 1. All right, so you got to make sure that when you click and drag it, don't let go of it too soon. Don't let go of the mouse too soon, because you want that to go all the way back over here to screen 1. Boom. So I've done it here. If you can, I don't know how well you can see that, but that arrow is pointing all the way back over here to screen 1. And if somebody taps that or clicks it, it will navigate its way back to screen 1. Now, let's test this real quick. How do you do that? Up on the top right-hand side, you'll see this. We've been working on design. That's where we built everything, and we came over here to prototype so we could do these little connections. There's a play button up here, or it says present. So I'm going to click it. It's going to open a new tab on your browser. It takes a second, and it might open. Since I was like on screen 3 when I hit the play button, it started on screen 3. Yeah, that's okay. And I'm doing this on a computer, so it's not like I tap it with my finger, but you get this little like pointer thing, and if I click home, oh look, it worked. Look at that. And this is what I'm going to be looking for. Did you construct it, and then did you make these button things? If I click next, it should go to screen 2, and it did. If I click next, it should go to screen 3, and it did. And if I click home, it should go back to screen 1, and it did. So I have created very basic navigation, nothing too fancy. We'll get fancier later. But I have created basic navigation from one screen to the next screen to the next screen and then back to the first screen. Look at that. Now, when I hit that play button, it opened a new tab in my browser. So if I go back one tab, see my layout work is all still there. I didn't lose it. There's 2 separate tabs on my browser here. One of them is showing me the preview, and the other one is showing me all of my work that I did to build this thing. So I'm going to go ahead and close the preview tab and just get rid of that for right now. All right, so now the only other thing you got to do is, what do you do to turn it in? If you get this thing all done, right? You got 3 screens, it's all done, it all works. How do you turn it in? Not too terribly different from code.org, but you got to pay attention to one thing pretty closely here. There's a share button up here on the top right hand side, so you're going to click that. And here is the important thing. Right here, where it says, you can put email addresses in here and share it with just certain people, but don't bother doing that. Just do this. Anyone with the link. Don't do this one. Only people invited to this file. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Do this. Anyone with link. Nobody's going to snoop at your stuff, right? I have to be able to see it. So make sure that says anyone with the link. Okay. And then what you're going to do. That's really the only thing you have to make sure that you check on is anyone with the link right there. Anyone with the link can view. That's what I want to be able to do. I want to be able to view your file. And copy link right there. Right, bottom left-hand side of that box. Copy link. Boom. And it'll do just like what code.org always did. It'll copy the link to the clipboard, and you can go back to Google Classroom, and you can go to the plus sign, and you're going to you're going to turn in a link. So you go plus link, paste it, and then you've got it, and then you can turn it in. All right. So this is what we're shooting for right here. 3 screens. They're all identified with text. They all have a picture on them. Showed you how to do that. They all have a little button on them. Showed you how to do that. And these buttons are actually connected so that they're functional. They actually work. All right. Let's give it a shot.